From the drum beats to the defeats, from the leg breaks to the mistakes, from the ripped flares to the rotten stares, from the pennies thrown to the chances blown. Since 2005, the F3 Derby has delivered goals, fashioned foes and created heroes. But most of all, it's kept the coaches, players and supporters on their toes. Be at Central Coast Stadium this Saturday, 11 October for Hyundai A-League 2014-15 Round 1, the F3 Derby. Kick-off 5 p.m. Tickets at Ticketek or The Gate. From the drum beats to the defeats, from the leg breaks to the mistakes, from the ripped flares to the rotten stares, from the pennies thrown to the chances blown. Since 2005, the F3 Derby has delivered goals, fashioned foes and created heroes. But most of all, it's kept the coaches, players and supporters on their toes. Be at Central Coast Stadium this Saturday, 11 October for Hyundai A-League 2014-15 Round 1, the F3 Derby. Kick-off 5 p.m. Tickets at Ticketek or The Gate. From the drum beats to the defeats, from the leg breaks to the mistakes, from the ripped flares to the rotten stares, from the pennies thrown to the chances blown. Since 2005, the F3 Derby has delivered goals, fashioned foes and created heroes. But most of all, it's kept the coaches, players and supporters on their toes. Be at Central Coast Stadium this Saturday, 11 October for Hyundai A-League 2014-15 Round 1, the F3 Derby. Kick-off 5 p.m. Tickets at Ticketek or The Gate.
Hello and welcome to Central Coast Stadium on Hyundai A-League Round 1, Match Day -1 for the club's first ever live interview streams. We're kicking off today with Central Coast Mariners head coach Phil Moss, and in a few minutes' time we'll also be discussing the F3 Derby with midfielder Nick Montgomery, a player entering his third season with the Yellow and Navy. Phil, your first question today comes from the crew at Crave Sushi in Terrigal, and they'd like to know that given we're fighting against big money this season, can the Mariners make the top 6?
Well, firstly, let me start by saying what a great initiative by the club to live stream to all our fans. So it's fantastic that all our supporters can be out there seeing us live the day before the game, and congrats to VPA and the Central Coast Mariners. To answer Johnny's question from Crave Sushi, and I love my sushi down there, fantastic restaurant. Yeah, I think we've got the quality, you know, if you ask me where we're at compared to the end of last season, I think we're a good few steps ahead. I think we've worked really hard on our quality on the ball and threatening the opposition goal every time we go across halfway with the ball. So, you know, I think we can score more goals this season. I think bringing Malik Mane, Richie Verness into the squad, along with the likes of Mitchell Duke, Cernak, Fitzgerald, Sim, Kim, Trefiro, Caceres, who can all chip in with goals, and young Tommy Slater coming through as well. It augurs well for this season, but top 6 as a minimum is our target.
Phil, your next question comes from Jeff Bullock at Fox Sports, who would like to know more about new signing Richard Vernesh. What are his strengths and how will he fit into the team positionally?
Yeah, look, Richie's a versatile player in the top half of the field. He can play 7, 11, 10, 9. He's a creative player. And you know, he's got the ability to play the final pass and see things early, and you know, he's a good finisher and he's got a good set piece on him. So look, he's probably not quite ready for round 1, but you know, he'll probably do a job for us off the bench tomorrow night, and away we go for the season. But we've got a cup game on Tuesday night as well, so we've got a quick turnaround, so I'm going to need the whole squad this week. First round of the competition, we've got 3 games in 7 days.
Sebastian Hassett from the Sydney Morning Herald. He's asked about Malik Mane and Vernesh. How long until we see them in their top form?
Look, I think Malik is getting there. He's showed some real glimpses over the last couple of weeks. He's certainly very physically strong, he's powerful, he's quick, he's very direct, he knows where the goal is, and you can just see that he's really stepped up in the last couple of weeks of pre-season, and they're not used to a pre-season of this length, so they've certainly found their way with the intensity and the physicality of training every day. They've both played at a fantastic level over in Europe, and I'm expecting Malik to make an impact, if not straight away. He'll certainly have glimpses tomorrow night, but round one is one of those rounds in any competition where it takes players a little while to find their feet and their match sharpness under competition conditions. So as long as we win the physical battle tomorrow night, we've definitely got the quality to hurt Newcastle in certain areas.
Sebastian's also asked about Kim Sung-yong's pre-season. How is he, and is he fully fit for this season?
Yeah, Kim's looked fantastic. He really has, and I think he came out here a bit more underdone than what we all thought last year, and he found his feet towards the back end of the season, but he's had a fantastic pre-season, looking very strong, technically fantastic player, great final pass, knows where the goal is, and I think he'll have a big bearing on things this season.
Mossy, a question from Carly Adno from the Daily Telegraph. She notes that the Jets have undergone a few changes in terms of personnel this pre-season. As such, is it difficult to know what to expect from them tomorrow night, and how have you prepared for the game?
Look, I think there's a bit of instability up there, obviously around the ownership, and we know what that's like at the Mariners. We've had that over the years, but we're very stable now, and we've prepared fantastically well. And the players are in great physical shape. Mentally, they're in a great space, and it's just time to get the show on the road now. And we always analyse the opposition. We played them in Mudgee a few weeks ago. We've watched them play against the Australian under-20s, and we've got another game from earlier on against Sydney FC. So we've had plenty of opportunity to look at them. However they set out tomorrow night, we won't be surprised. We've got our plan A, B and C. We've got our defensive structure. We've really focused on ourselves and making sure that we stick to the cornerstone of our success, but also, as I said, being more threatening with the ball and scoring more goals. And I want fans in this stadium to be on the edge of their seat when we go forward with the ball.
Mossy, a question from Phil Micallef at the World Game and also SBS. Who would you rather beat this season, the Jets or Sydney FC?
Look, I don't really look at any opposition and think I'd rather beat one than the other. The F3 Derby is our first game of the season. It's got a great tradition, great history behind it, and there's been some ding-dong battles over the years, some of which I watched as an onlooker early in the A-League, and then as an assistant coach, and now as a head coach I get the best seat in the house. So I'm just looking forward to getting round one underway. And the boys have got a process to stick to, and no matter what the scoreline is during the game, we stick to that process. And if we do that to the best of our ability, we've got every chance of winning. But every game this season is going to be tough. The A-League is getting closer and closer, and any team is capable of beating another on their day. We've just got to make sure that our house is in order, and that we give the best of ourselves week in, week out, and then we've got every chance of being very successful.
Phil, a question from supporter Sean Daniels. He'd like to know, which former Mariner are you most looking forward to coaching against? Bernie Abini, Marcos Flores or Michael McGlinchey?
That doesn't even enter my mind. The only players that matter to me are my players that are here, that work hard day in, day out. And we've got a fantastic group of footballers at the club, and they really do work to the maximum of their abilities and potential and energy levels every day, and that's why they become better footballers, and that's why we've been able to move some fantastic players on to a bigger and better level. And my job now is to develop players, but I can't do that without my senior players. They set a great platform for the kids to go out there and enjoy themselves and play without pressure, and that's what I've instructed the boys tomorrow night. Go out there, play with a smile on your face, and we'll get the job done.
Mossy, Brian Gibson from Football Federation Australia would like to know, what has been the biggest challenge going from assistant coach to head coach?
Look, I think the management of players. You have to be the bad guy at times and leave players out of the team. And as an assistant coach, you could play the good cop more often because the final decision wasn't mine, but now it is. And I make no apologies to the boys because we've got great depth, and we've got a lot of players pushing for first 11 spots now, and every player wants competition for spots. as they always will say publicly, but when it comes to the crunch, it means that some players will have to miss out, and I can't fit 24 players into a team list of 16, and you can't fit 16 into a starting 11. So, it's fantastic because it pushes us to new levels, but I guess the main transition is managing players and making sure that everyone is in the right space mentally to give their best, whether they're starting, coming off the bench, or sitting in the grandstand and get selected the following week.
Next up, Mossy, is a query from fan Andrew Thompson. He'd like to know, what are we concentrating on more, the Westfield FFA Cup or the Hyundai A-League?
Look, it's a great question, but the answer really is our next match, and that's it's a cliche, but it's a fact as well. It's we've got Newcastle tomorrow night, and then we go up to the Gold Coast on Tuesday to play against Palm Beach in the quarter-final of the FFA Cup, and that will then become our focus tomorrow night at full time. But up until that occurs, tomorrow night's the only thing that I'm focused on. But what I will say is the FFA Cup is a fantastic initiative. It's brought together the grassroots and the professional levels of the game, and I think that's crucial for the development of our game, both on the pitch and in the grandstand. So I'm right behind it. I'm taking it very seriously, as I know our players are, but first and foremost, we've got round one of the A-League to contend with.
Phil supporter Edward Landenberg says that in his opinion, Anthony Caceres is one of, if not the most creative players in the squad. Why don't you give him a real chance as an attacking midfielder?
Look, Cass is right in the mix, and I couldn't agree more. He's a fantastic talent, and he can play 6, 8 or 10 very comfortably, and he is creative. He does his job defensively. He's got a fantastic future ahead of him, and he's pushing for a spot every week, as is Glenn Trefiro, John Hutchinson, Nick Montgomery, young Liam Rose, who's come from the AIS, has looked great in pre-season. He's away with the Australian 20s at the moment. So as I said before, there's great competition for places, and if Cass is playing, it's because he deserves to be in there. If he's not playing, it's either because he's dipped in form or someone else is doing better at that time. That's just the way football works. But Cass is a fantastic footballer. I've got a lot of belief in his ability, and he's a fantastic kid as well.
And finally, Mossy, one from the club. The F3 Derby tomorrow night right here at Central Coast Stadium. How good would it be to see the stands filled with yellow and navy?
Oh, look, outstanding. And, you work hard every day in pre-season and in training during the season to play in front of big crowds on the weekend. And, we've had some great nights here at Blue Tongue Stadium, or Central Coast Stadium now. Sorry, Laurie McKenna. But the F3 Derby is one of those games that you circle, and because it's just, the intensity is just a notch higher. And given that it's round one this year, the intensity will be through the roof. So I'm really looking forward to a ding-dong battle. I think we've got enough quality to get the points at home, and tomorrow night's the first step in making this place a fortress again this season.
Thanks for your time, Mossy.
That's my pleasure, Benny, and I look forward to seeing all our supporters who are so supportive at Central Coast Stadium tomorrow night.
We'll take a 1-minute break here in Gosford and be back with midfielder Nick Montgomery.
From the drum beats to the defeats, from the leg breaks to the mistakes, from the rip flares to the rod and stares, from the pennies thrown to the chances blown. Since 2005, the F3 Derby has delivered goals, fashioned foes, and created heroes. But most of all, it's kept the coaches, players, and supporters on their toes. Be at Central Coast Stadium this Saturday, 11 October, for Hyundai A-League 2014-15 Round 1, the F3 Derby. Kick-off 5 p.m. Tickets at Ticketek or The Gate.
Nick Montgomery, thanks to you for joining us ahead of the F3 Derby. You're obviously no stranger to big matches, so are you looking forward to tomorrow's test?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic game to start the season. Obviously, it's such a long pre-season here. Everyone's excited for the A-League to start tonight with a game tonight, and obviously an F3 Derby tomorrow, just to add a little bit of spice to the first game, especially for us.
Tanya Evans on Facebook asks, how does the team interact prior to taking the field? Does anything ever change, or is it kept reasonably routine each week?
Yeah, all the boys have different routine. Some are relaxed, some are intense. Others just laugh and joke around, but yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's a pretty relaxed dressing room. I've shared a dressing room with quite a few players, some big name players that do strange things, but here we have some music on, one of the young boys brings a nice mix in. Obviously, if it's not a good mix, we give you some stick. So yeah, it's it'll definitely be nice and relaxed tomorrow. But once we get ready to come out, then everything's going to change.
Steve Marr from the Central Coast Express Advocate would like to know, do the players get fed up with the Mariners always being written off by the pundits before a ball in the A-League's even kicked?
I just find it quite amusing. I've been here 2 years, been written off both years. First year I won the grand final, last 16 of the Champions League, and last season we finished joint second with West Sydney. But I think, to be honest, from the outside, people like to write us often. To be honest, it's probably been said before, but it suits us as the underdogs. It takes a bit of pressure off, and we know that if we perform and we play like we can match anybody in the A-League. So, like I say, for us, it's it doesn't really matter. We don't really read much into it. We just concentrate on ourselves and having a good season.
Monty, this is a question from supporter Sean Daniels, who also asked this of Phil Moss. He would like to know, which of your former teammates are you most looking forward to playing against this season? Bernie Abini, Marcos Flores or Michael McGlinchey?
I'll probably have to say Michael McGlinchey. It's going to be a nice atmosphere here, but in all honesty, he's a great lad. I think there's a lot of circumstances surrounding it that a lot of people don't know. So yeah, it'll be nice to see him and give him a good kick, as well as everyone else that's played for the Mariners. So I think I'll try and stay away from Bernie. He's a bit too quick. I'll try and leave probably Stormy or Rosie to chase him around the park. But yeah, it'll be nice to see them all.
Mate, speaking of Wellington Phoenix, there's a question that's come from Patrick Barnes, who's a Wellington Phoenix fan. He'd like you to explain what the F3 derby means to the players at the club.
Yeah, well, to be honest, any sort of derby is built up a little bit in the press and the media, and the fans. To be honest, the derby are more for the fans. When it's a short distance between the two clubs, something I'm accustomed to. It's good for the fans because you'll have people working in Newcastle that live on the coast and vice versa. So for them, it's just a bragging rights to go into work the following Monday and have a bit of banter with their work friends. And but for us, every game's competitive, and we want to win every game. So whether that's Newcastle or Perth, it doesn't matter. For us, they're all 3-point winnable games here at Central Coast Stadium, and that's what we go out to do.
Naturally, the guys have just finished their session here at Central Coast Stadium, and they also did video analysis before the session. What did the coaching staff focus on?
It's just usual preparation. It's more about us and what formation we're playing and certain things like that. And obviously, tomorrow we'll have a look at some of the way they play and the set pieces and stuff. And we'll make sure that we're prepared for the game and leave no stone unturned, so that there's no excuses for us after the game. And hopefully, if we've got it right as a team and the coaching staff, then that should prepare us well to go out tomorrow and pick up 3 points.
And finally, Monty, you're in your 30s now, and you've still got a few years left in your legs. But what are your goals at this stage of your career?
Just to keep playing, keep enjoying my football. Since I moved out here, I've had a successful time, and I've loved playing in the A-League. So for me, hopefully I can play for another 4 years before I think about the next stage of my career. But for now, like I said, there's plenty of gas in the tank, and I love playing with the younger boys and helping them and passing on my experience to them. And we've had a few people. Millie retired last year. There's talk of people retiring this year, but for me, I keep myself fit. I consider myself one of the fittest at the club, so I'll just keep going and keep doing what I've done for so long, and just like you say, just enjoy my football and enjoying playing for the Mariners.
Nick Montgomery, thanks for your assistance today, and good luck in tomorrow's F3 derby.
Thank you. Cheers.
That's it from Central Coast Stadium. Please join us here tomorrow. Kick-off at 5 p.m. Coverage as well as links to ticketing and membership information is available at www.ccmariners.com.au.
From the drum beats to the defeats, from the leg breaks to the mistakes, from the rip flares to the rod and stares, from the pennies thrown to the chances blown. Since 2005, the F3 Derby has delivered goals, fashioned foes, and created heroes. But most of all, it's kept the coaches, players, and supporters on their toes. Be at Central Coast Stadium this Saturday, 11 October, for Hyundai A-League 2014-15 Round 1. The F3 Derby. Kick-off 5 p.m. Tickets at Ticketek or The Gate.